I think modern day artists that I take a lot of inspo from are like the 1975, who kind of pioneered the whole multi-genre within a single album that has these kind of broader themes. They don't put out concept records per se, but an album like A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships is a pretty good example of them having that kind of general message associated with a collection of songs that can still work as individual songs, but that also fit this larger narrative. I think that The Weeknd is an artist who also does a lot of that. He is kind of very dedicated to the visual worlds that he builds around his music, and I think that I'm very drawn to that.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey, guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. I'm your host, Scott Saldinger, and thank you to everyone who returns week after week for these amazing hangs with great musicians. If you're new to the channel, please do us a favor, subscribe, like, hit the bell, leave a comment, ask a question, whatever you want to do. Believe it or not only helps us, but it also helps the artists that appear on The Hang, because it opens up a conversation. They learn a little bit about their fans. You can learn a little bit more outside of the episode. And it's great to share great music and great musicians. Also, a big announcement. We're now available that you can take us with you anywhere you go. So like our guest today is in New York and he walks around a lot like most New Yorkers do. You can now take us on the go. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Player FM, Boomplay, and many more. So no matter where you probably look for your podcasts, we're there. I'm excited because, you know what, I'm originally from New York, born in Manhattan, and today we're hanging with DK Lyons. Now, although he's from Massachusetts, he's a now New York City-based indie singer-songwriter and producer. He recently released a single named Stop. That's the title. And it's the second from his forthcoming EP, Darling Kiss Louder, which was released on August 22nd-ish, I think, just a few weeks ago. So it's still hot off the press, and I'm going to be asking you to go buy it later because you know me. I want you to buy his music. But the cool thing about this EP, it's got a really cool visual concept. I can't wait to learn how he drew inspiration from Dante's Divine Comedy, because up until learning about him, like Divine Comedy to me was the act Divine Comedy. So it's all about the 7 deadly sins, the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, but he taps into modern day consumerism. I'm sure no one watching today is familiar with that at all. So we're going to get a great lesson in that today. The world of social media, again, don't know much about it, and influencer culture. DK, I'm looking forward to this. Welcome to The Hang, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be great. I've yet to have anyone on, honestly, in the last year or so who had like such a theme to their album. So obviously, unlike a lot of artists these days, collections of songs, there's something to thread through this. So, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. But I start these out because I really want to get to know you. What's your musical origin story? Did you find music, or did music find you? And what's that story that got us together today?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both, honestly. I think my earliest memories of music were driving in the back of my dad's Impala SS Chevrolet, going to this dirt airport that he ran in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And he was obsessed with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So every Petty record was on all day, every day. Tom Petty was my kind of first, initiation into music, if you will. And it's not surprising that then not long after that, I started to hear my own melodies in my head, because Tom's got so much, great melody and catchiness and anthemic feeling to his songs. And I think just by being immersed in that at a young age, I started to really channel that myself. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to learn about all of the music that's out there. And I want to learn how to get a guitar and how to play a guitar and how to start making cassettes. And it was pretty much an obsession from a very young age. and it really hasn't stopped since then.
So let me ask you this: when you decided you were going to find all of music after Tom Petty, what came next? Because after listening to some of your music, there are definitely a multitude of different influences in there.
Yeah, so I pretty much have gone through a different phase in each decade since then. So, you know, after discovering Tom Petty, naturally you're led to kind of classic rock radio. So went and got my full kind of Beatles experience as a kid. You know, obviously Tom Petty credits the Beatles with a lot of his inspo. And you go through those 60s bands like the Rolling Stones and the Kinks and the Who. The Who were definitely like a favorite of mine. And then, you know, you go through the 70s. I was a big Led Zeppelin fan. Loved Fleetwood Mac, kind of went hand in hand with Tom Petty and all of that there. Then I hit the 80s, and the 80s is what kind of stopped me in my tracks for a little bit. I really fell in love with 80s production, 80s pop music. You know, Prince kind of coming into my life, Michael Jackson, a lot of the great kind of one-hit wonders like Aha and Kaja Gugu and like those kind of songs. Found The Cure at one point. I loved The Cure. And then I also had a weird kind of off thing with 80s hair metal music at one point, where I was listening to a lot of Def Leppard and Poison and Warrant and those kind of bands. Yeah. And then from there, same deal, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, kind of just fell in love with pieces of each decade ever since. And as a result of that, and as you know, in the streaming world we live in right now, where the confines are a little bit less defined, I really saw it as an opportunity to try out a core sound that is me, but with as many different genres that I have come in contact with and have felt inspired by.
Well, I mean, did that lead you to kind of this path of creating music around Divine Comedy? I mean, it's because your last two tracks, I listened to those today, and I'm like, to me, knowing what I know now, they're a little lighter and poppier than hair metal, that's for sure. Yeah. So what inspired these songs? And then when I say that, you know, Divine Comedy, but what current day inspiration did you take to kind of pull it all together and find that sound and then those lyrics?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think modern day artists that I take a lot of inspo from are like the 1975, who kind of pioneered the whole multi-genre within a single album that has these kind of broader themes. They don't put out concept records per se, but you know, an album like A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships is a pretty good example of them having that kind of general message associated with a collection of songs that can still work as individual songs, but that also fit this larger narrative. I think that The Weeknd is an artist who also does a lot of that. He is kind of very dedicated to the visual worlds that he builds around his music. And I think that I'm very drawn to that. My day job is actually in video content and making advertisements. And so, you know, I made the music first, and the music for sure came from just what I was listening to. You talk about like the two songs you've heard being, you know, different from hair metal. The opening track on the album is like punch you in the face, like 90s grunge, like whole garbage influence. So there's definitely some harder stuff in there. And I think I just wanted to make sure that there was a variety as I was trying to tell these different stories and fit the story to the feel of the song. And these stories are a collection of kind of asking the question of whether or not real love can exist in our current society, if it's being bought and paid for by, you know, social media and this consumerism, you know, obsession that we have, and you know, dating apps and all these different elements that are kind of robbing it of its purity. And it's me kind of writing a collection of stories of things I've seen or experienced that are trying to answer that question. At the end, it's not necessarily a resounding yes, but I like to think I left a little bit of hope for things at the end. And then the way that translates over to the Divine Comedy, I read the Divine Comedy last summer, was kind of, you know, getting into the lore of all of it. And, you know, it was really written at a time when, you know, religion had really taken over people's lives, and it was meant to kind of corral and condense and make people very obedient to these kind of strict guidelines for life. And it was kind of like, a way to capture and control people. And what got the world out of, those dark ages was the eventual Renaissance, this kind of flourishing of really organic, human driven art. And that kind of cast away some of this darkness and, repression and these, older ideals. And I think I was sitting there one day thinking about, well, I've got all these songs over here about social media and consumerism and all of this stuff and how I'm feeling trapped by it. And then I'm just reading this book where it's kind of touching on these themes, 1,000 years ago. I wonder if I could draw parallels between the two. And I'm not necessarily trying to tell anyone to do anything, but it's more of an interesting question of, are we potentially headed for, something more hopeful, another renaissance that gets us out of this over consumerism, this influencer culture, this, bashing online behind, fake accounts and just the crazy things that are happening right now. And especially too with, you're thinking about consumerism where you have companies like Amazon that are pretty much a monopoly of where we get our goods from, and social media ads telling you, the lifestyles we should be leading and the products we should be buying. And so, yeah, that's a very long-winded way of me saying I found it interesting. I saw some parallels and I started to try to put them together into this project.
Do you feel, and this is not to get in any type of political conversation, but do you feel that we may be in a situation where we've not learned from our past? Oh,
for sure. For sure. I think you can see that time and time again with, looking back to, I was watching an interesting documentary recently, actually, going back to the Vietnam War era and kind of that being the last time that we trusted our government to kind of, uphold what they were supposed to be doing for us. And everything has kind of changed since then. And it seems that, every few years or so, there'll be this cataclysmic event that divides people even more, draws people in to start questioning these things. And eventually, because, we've set up everything to be about, TV ad revenue, which means you got to have the most explosive news stories on Fox News or CNN. That's what sells. It's all about what's selling and less about what's actually good for people. And I think it's just a cycle we've kind of been stuck in now for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's interesting. I mean, you mentioned your day jobs in video production. You can tell when you watch your music videos that you have a creative hand in this. They seem more driven, so to say, by very good, well-crafted video production, as opposed to a lot of the DIY stuff we see out there. Look, every song on the EP has a video to it. Tell me about like the thought behind your video production, and are you directing these and writing these all yourself? What level of creative control have you taken, and what are you willing to allow other people to have in order to create these videos?
Yeah, no, I became in love with music videos as a platform by watching MTV reruns as a kid. I would sit there for hours and just watch all kinds of music videos, and I love movies too. And I think there's a really amazing marriage that can be found there, right? Where you have a song that, has some cinematic qualities, and then you really just expand that world, right? And make it even more cinematic and more this longer form feeling by giving it a music video. So I started making music videos pretty early on, writing them, directing them, editing them myself. And thankfully through my day job, I have enough people that like me enough where they're down to come help out and shoot and, just be extra set of hands and all that kind of stuff. So, it's always been a big part of my artistry is having music videos. And, it's obviously a good way to promote things online and social media. But, at the same time, I always tend to have an idea of what a music video is going to be as soon as I kind of finish writing the song, which is really exciting because it just gives it that extra life beyond just the making of the song too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a creative pre-visualization, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No, absolutely. For those who haven't been introduced to you yet, I mean, they're going to be. In your collection of songs, because you've got a pretty good catalog on, available. I know on Apple Music, iTunes, whatever you call it these days. What if I was new to you, right? And we want people to go buy the new EP, of course, but as a collection of your thoughts, ideas, and your sound and desire to create, where if someone is brand new to you, which one or two songs that you have out in your entire collection do you feel is the best appetizer to get people to come in for the full meal?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Road Trip Mixtape, which is off of my second LP, is a great place to start. I think it's my favorite song I've made. I wrote it for my sister, and it's kind of just like this big hug, but it's got a lot of the elements that I think make me me. There's some cheekiness in there. There's some kind of maybe overly saccharine sentimentality going on in there. There's some fun references, but in general, I think it's just the whole package of kind of who I am. And then in terms of other songs, I think a song like Fake Ray-Bans is a good example of something a bit more uplifting, a bit more in your face, that has that really kind of anthemic, catchy, vibe to it. And that's, like I mentioned, coming from the world of Tom Petty, who, pretty much never went a year or two without writing a big song with a catchy chorus. I think that's something that is a lifeblood through my music as well, right? Like I pretty much don't ever finish a song where I can't in some part hear or see in my head droves of people singing that chorus back to me, because it's so catchy and brings people in and has that kind of universal quality to it. So I'd say Road Trip Mixtape and Fake Ray-Bans.
Awesome. What is your creative process like? Are you first with the lyrics? Are you first with the music? And who else is involved? Do you have other people involved in your creative process?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of both, honestly. I get a lot from just pulling from things I hear in my head, and I've always felt really blessed to have that. I don't usually ever sit down and just try to write a song. I'll be sitting there at 6 a.m, like starting to wake up, and I'll hear something in my head and immediately need to like get up, write it on an acoustic guitar, or open up Logic and start building just something out to like get the idea out. And it's the same thing with lyrics too. I'll be like on an airplane and something will pop in my head, and I've got this endless notes app of ideas. And so from there, I'll either continue to produce out the track until I think it's ready for lyrics, and then I'll bring in the notes app and, try to figure out good places to start and write it that way. Or, if I have the lyrics already kind of mapped out on a simple guitar progression or something like that, then I'll take it to produce it and kind of just, at this point, I've recorded so much over my life that I usually just take whatever intuition comes to me. And that's how it goes from initial writing of the song to the actual production of the song.
So basically, is it, when I hear your music, is it all you? Are you playing all the instruments? Do you have anyone else that you create with? Yeah, the majority of the instruments are me. I've had an amazing collaborator in the past who I've recorded my 2 EPs and first 2 albums with, Steve Hansen, who is a phenomenal guitar player. So he played a lot of guitar solos on those records, just because it's just such a beautiful way of adding to those music, to those tracks. And then recently, I've built a band here in New York City. So I've been trying to get my band kind of involved more. So this new EP will be the first one that we've really worked on together. So Eddie, who's my bass player, has helped engineer it. He sings backups on some of the songs. My drummer, Matt, played actual drums on 2 of the songs and sang backup vocals. And then Sophie and Pat, who are the 2 other members of the band, also had songs where they contributed some vocals. So for the most part, I'm building the core music track and I'm writing the lyrics and all of that. But definitely it gives it such a fuller sound, once you start hearing them on the track and what they contributed. Absolutely. where do you have any gigs set for the coming for the end of the year? Do you have anything between now and the end of the year in the New York area? Will people be able to catch you playing out anywhere?
Absolutely, yeah. So we just actually wrapped up a big show. This is the second year doing it, what we call Gemini Ball, because at one point last year we realized that all 4 of my band members were born within 2 weeks of each other, and so all Geminis, and so we decided to put together a special show around that that kind of helped celebrate them a little bit more and not just be all about me. So we played that show a couple weeks ago, and now we're getting ready for a special EP release show that actually probably would have happened by the time this podcast comes out at the end of August. And then one last big show of the year is we're putting together a Mercury Lounge show at some point in October. So I've been playing gigs with this artist called Rami 411, and then my former keyboard player is now in a band called Cherry Blue. So we've played some shows together and did really well. So we're putting together another big one this fall. So more details to come on that. We're still trying to lock in the date, but the first time playing there, and we're really excited about it.
Well, you'll have to make sure I get the details, because we'll put them down in the description below for sure.
Absolutely.
Anything to drive people to come out and see live music, support your artists, buy tickets, buy merch, all that stuff. We're big supporters of that. Plus, October is actually a good time to be in New York, so you never know. Maybe I'll come up. Yeah. Let me ask you this: we all have somebody in our lives who impacts us in a way that really propels something in our lives forward, right? Who's been the biggest inspiration, or who's had the greatest impact on your career? Is either a mentor, a supporter, or someone who opened a door for you?
It's a great question. I already shouted out Steve Hansen, who kind of took me in when I was making just really bad bedroom demos, and he kind of whipped me into shape. And we ended up recording almost 40 songs together over 5 years, and he just really showed me how to become an artist and how to sing in the studio and how to play guitar for recording and not just a demo. And he's just a wonderful friend, and I owe him a lot for sure. So he's a big one. And then I would say too, just getting in touch with my current backup singer, Sophie Ray, who is another amazing singer in the city. And she's really pushed me over the last 2 years to grow as an artist, grow as a singer, and really kind of take a step forward in confidence, which is something I have lacked in my entire life. I've always kind of struggled with imposter syndrome and all of these different things. And she has had an immeasurable impact on helping me get over that. So those are kind of the two that immediately come to mind.
That's interesting. Imposter syndrome. How does that had a negative impact on your music and your musical career? And what are you doing? Maybe people watching today can learn a few things. What are you doing that helps you overcome that so that you feel that sense of belonging?
Yeah, I think for me, the imposter syndrome just comes from I didn't really grow up with a traditional music background. Like, I tried to take guitar lessons 3 different times. I kind of didn't see it through either of or any of those times, and ended up teaching myself, and was very self-taught on production for a long time, and just kind of figured, like, I don't have the talent for this. I can't do it. And then eventually getting, with the right people and starting to make better music and more polished music and learning how to, sing better. Obviously the results started to get better, but that level of imposter syndrome that I'd had from, a teenage me was really stuck there. And I think it's just a matter of grinding through it. It's a matter of not stopping and using everything not as a do or die barometer of success, but just as kind of like a checkpoint. Like, I think listening to the final mixes of my new EP today, which first time I've really taken on almost sole production and mixing and all that stuff. And just hearing the way I sang it, I'm like, I would never have sung that way 3 years ago. And I think it's just because I pushed through a lot of that imposter syndrome and kept going despite these red lights going off all around me saying, no, you should stop. This isn't, you're not good enough at X, Y, and Z. So I think it was just that pure determination to kind of get through it that has it's eased it. It's still there, obviously. It feels like it's always going to be lingering there, but I think its impacts on me are definitely lower because of that.
Right, nice. You said that you just finished listening to the mixes. From creation to release, when is a song done for you? What does it have to have? What's that magic moment that you're going, okay, I think I can let the world have this now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And especially learning this really hard this time around, where I was kind of the judge, jury, and executioner of it, versus before working with a producer who would tell me, hey, I think this is good. I think there's two ways to look about it. There's the obvious, like, oh, I just heard a click over here and this part's too loud. Now listening to it a few days later. So there's very technical items, I think, that you listen to and you say, yeah, this could be better. But then I think more importantly, there's a feel vibe to it. Like in reality, I could keep tweaking and adding and removing and doing all that kind of stuff forever. And I think that's why it's good that I put a deadline on myself so that I wouldn't do that. But I think as a result, I had these moments of, kind of just getting into this flow state of trying to finish a song because I wanted it done by a certain time, and using that kind of adrenaline to get it to that point where it felt done.
It's interesting you bring up flow state. It's interesting because I know flow state because I do concert photography, and you've got 3 songs to get about 6 things done right manually in your head to make an image look right.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you end up when you're in that mixing and you're in that film, getting to flow state? Like, what is that experience like for you?
Yeah, I think it all depends on a lot of the external factors going on in my life. Like I'll notice a difference if I sit down with the intention of like mixing and creating hard for 4 or 5 uninterrupted hours, where I know I'll get into that state and really just like I'll be at the top of my game and feeling joy and all these things. If I go into that having not been just slammed with work and life and all these crazy things, I find that I don't go into that flow state as easily because it feels like the music is work, and I probably would be better off stopping and waiting until that moment is right. But as you know too, with concert photography, you can't just wait until the moment's right. You got to be there and meet the moment and do it. So it's always showing up, hoping to get into that flow state. But when everything does line up and I get into it, I mean, I could sit there and make music for 18 hours straight and not have a care in the world, and and be ready to get up and do the same thing the next day. So it's a cool feeling.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how the brain works, because the feeling of flow state, when your body relaxes and everything, you would think you're in a tense moment, but your body just lets go.
Yeah.
Right. And you're in that flow. And yet we also struggle with what are people going to think of this? And I went to film school. The things that I created, I loved the most, the things that I created that I loved the most, people thought sucked. Well, the things that I thought sucked, people loved. And you're always, and I think that can go into that, a little bit of the imposter syndrome stuff, is that, you're questioning, what will others think of this thing that I created? But does it really matter as long as they get what they want out of it?
It's the age-old question for artists in general, and no matter what the medium, right? Because you create for yourself, but you are creating for an audience. It's always, you always want that feedback, and you don't want to just throw things out into an echo chamber and not get it fed back to you. So it's impossible not to think about it, but I feel like it's also, it's a balance, right? Like you can create guardrails for how much outside input you think you want to let into it. But at the end of the day, if I've ever sat there and tried to make something solely for the purpose of making someone else happy, yeah, it almost never comes out feeling authentic. It's a lot more work. And then when I sit there and I go, I want to make a song that's just like this, because I really love this song right now, and I want my version of that. And I kind of tune everything else out. I have the most fun with it, and it tends to be the one that comes out the best. And so it's hard. It's hard to stay consistent, I think, with just knowing what you're creating for and what voices you're letting in at any given time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree totally. I'm always kind of curious. And I know that we've grown a good audience here. We've grown people who do things when they see our podcast. We had somebody travel 3 hours in Germany to go see an album release.
Cool.
So we know things happen. So I'm always kind of interested because I'm a go and doer in life. So I don't have a bucket list. I just go do stuff, right? But I wonder about people's dream collaboration. If you had an opportunity, if we put something good out in the world right now and said, wait a minute, I'd love to be in a studio with this person and spend a day creating. And it could be video, it could be audio, it could just be whatever comes of it. Who would your person be and why them?
Okay. Can I give you multiple or does it have to be one?
You like to okay, I'm going to give you, I like you. So, and you're in New York, my hometown. So we're going to give you two. Okay. You have two.
Two. So the immediate answer is George Daniel, who's the drummer for the 1975, but he produces all of their music. He produces like house music on the side. He is like one of the most interesting producers out there with the amount of genres he touches and some of the techniques he uses and all of that. And I just love the sound that they have. So I've been a huge fan of them for a long time. One of the biggest influences to my music. So that's kind of like the main answer. But the second answer would be Sabrina Carpenter, because I find her so fascinating and funny. I think she has this brand of like just being this pop girl, but is a little bit rougher around the edges. She's not afraid to, drop an F word on a top 40 song and be a little cringe and be a little cheeky. And I know that she's been working with Jack Antonoff a good bit too, who's one of my favorite producers and obviously producers, frontmen for Bleachers. So I think it'd be really interesting to get in a room with Sabrina Carpenter and write a song together.
All right. Well, you heard it here, people. If you know Sabrina Carpenter, or you know someone who knows Sabrina Carpenter, or hey, Sabrina, if you're watching, or if you know anyone in the 1975, do him a favor. Get DJ hooked up. Come on. Like, what? I mean, that would be quite the experience. Maybe get both of them. Maybe since you got both, maybe just all three of you get in the studio together, and you never know what can happen.
Never know. I would
never
know.
You've got the October show coming up. The EP's been released. What's next for late 2025 and early into 2026? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, so I've got music videos lined up for each of the songs in the EP. So by that point, we'll have 3 out. So there's 4 more to go. And that was another thing I kind of committed to as I was thinking about the promotion of this EP. I wanted to obviously start with this, Dante's Inferno core. I have a series of videos that are kind of tied to that, where each song was given a fake product, something that's making fun of something prevalent in society today, from a dating app to, an online betting service, just kind of these things that are very of the now. And we're making SNL style fake ads for those. So my friends and I are all kind of working on those right now. The first one already came out a couple weeks ago. We've got another one coming soon. And then on the music video front, I didn't really want to do the straightforward, let's make up a concept for each song. And I was kind of thinking it'd be great if I looked at other artists and parodied some of their work. And speaking of Sabrina Carpenter, looking at 2024, when I was writing this, was just such a massive year for women in music. When you have her and Chappell Roan and Doechii and SZA and Ariana and the Billy and the whole list goes on. And so I wanted to have each music video basically pay homage to one of their videos from last year. So first video was a note to Chappell Roan's Red Wine Supernova. We've got Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso video coming up next. And beyond that, will be an Ariana song for the next single. So so that's going to be keeping me busy. And then starting to record some new stuff from there, because I can't stop. So
no, that's great. And now, I mean, anybody who works with you, like your boss, let's make sure they're not listening, because my next thing is going to be, okay, if you're creating these ads and stuff, who can we get at SNL to notice your work? if you're going to be creating SNL kind of like, the faux commercials that they make, right?
Yep.
Like, how can we get you noticed so you can get a job over there, right? I mean, I don't know where you work now, but maybe we can get you a step up. You never know.
Maybe so. Yeah.
So again, we put it out there here on the Hang.
We are.
If anybody knows anyone, Hey, by the way, if you need a music video made, you now know where to find DK Lyons. I mean,
Please.
I don't know. Maybe do freelance as well. I don't know. All right. So well, the way we kind of head home on these is, as everyone knows, especially if they hang with us the whole time, I am a huge supporter of artists. It's so important now more than ever that we support our artists by purchasing their art. Whether it is a painting you put on your wall, because you sure as hell aren't going to rip it down off a wall in a store and take it with you, or you go out to a Bandcamp, an iTunes, or whatever, and purchase an artist's music. There's this production that DK does to bring you great content doesn't come for free. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not powered by the residuals he's getting from Spotify. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I could be totally wrong, but so it's so important to support our artists. He's got the EP out. He's got prior albums. Besides iTunes, do you have band? Where else can I buy your music? Where can we put some links to buy your music?
Yeah, we're getting Bandcamp up for the EP, so that'll be ready to go for that. And then we'll also have merch here very soon. So that'll be coming out this fall as well. So there should be plenty of ways. But yeah, for now, iTunes is a great spot. That's generally where I send people.
Awesome. You heard it here. We're going to put the links down below. Get his merch, buy the music, go to Bandcamp. I mean, especially on Bandcamp Fridays when all the proceeds go to an artist. I mean, that's just incredible. All right. So please. And if you're in New York in October, go check them out. They're putting on a show, buy a ticket. So do what you can to support. With that though, I'm always interested, and I know you talked about a lot of artists kind of from your past when you were growing up, different genres and different ages, so to say. But it's just you and me here. We're just hanging out, and I'm always interested in what people are listening to now. And being that you're in New York, you got to get on a subway and stay awake, right? You got to walk down the street and block out some of the street traffic noise, or you maybe just go Central Park and sit down and you want to relax and zone out. Who are some artists that you're currently listening to, 2 or 3 artists that you're listening to, and what do you like about them that would turn me on to them?
Yeah. So I think more on the mainstream side of things, I've really been loving Sam Fender's recent album, produced by the guy from War on Drugs. I'm a big fan of their production. So just really powerful kind of roots rock. And I can't really call him Americana because he's from the UK, but it's a really beautiful album. I've listened to a lot of the Japanese house. So Amber Bain is kind of the head of that, amazing producer, songwriter. And then I'm so lucky to know so many great local New York artists. Blair Lamb is such a phenomenal singer and songwriter, more like acoustic folky, but great vibes there. And then my good friend Jack Gerhardt, who's more kind of country Americana, but really, really soulful music, is another friend who does an amazing rooftop show series here in the city. And it's just it's a good time to be a musician in New York, despite what it may seem like. There's so much talent and so many warm, lovely people here doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I definitely know what you're talking about, Sam, because I've been listening.
Yeah,
that one got recommended to me. And I recently met Leo Lovechild, who's in New York City. I don't know if you've met Leo Lovechild or seen him, but he was on the Tonight Show's Battle of the Instagram Songwriters. They plucked him out of nowhere. So there's always opportunity in New York.
Yeah.
24/7, 365. And like I said, I got to get up and visit. It's been a while since I've been home. DK, this has been fabulous. I wish you all the success. Definitely. When you start writing again and you have something else to release, you let us know.
Absolutely.
Because I love keeping up on people's career. And all the best. And thank you to everyone who's been hanging with us now for this episode. We really appreciate you coming back. And again, you can now walk down the street and listen to our podcast just about anywhere. We wanted to make it available if you don't have time to just sit in front of YouTube. So get it where you find your podcasts. DK, all the success, all the best. Great to talk to someone else living in New York. We probably could have just talked tourism stuff for the next hour. Because I used to go to New York Bagel, and I used to hang out in the Village a lot. a lot of stories. We'll save it for the next time. But
yes, please.
Thanks for hanging with me. Great meeting you, everybody. Till we see you again soon. Thanks so much. Bye for now. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.